Good morning and welcome back to Mobility Matters. I'm your host, Javier Betancourt, Executive Director of the Citizens Independent Transportation Trust, or CITT. So as you can see today, we're doing something a little different. I don't have any guests because today we are celebrating the 100th episode of the Mobility Matters podcast. Believe it or not, 100 episodes, even more guests, because sometimes we have multiple guests on one episode. And this all started a little over 3 years ago, August of 2022. And we've had an incredible run of shows here, together with our partners, Miami's Community News, who allow us to use this beautiful studio and produce the program. So we want to thank Michael, Grant, and his incredible team here at Miami's Community News for their incredible partnership in producing this podcast. None of this would also be possible without my incredible team at the CITT, starting with our volunteer board, who have been very supportive of this program since its inception, and my incredible team of professionals, starting with Joey here behind the camera, Carla Damien, Cheryl Mizell, who also helps to co-host this program when I'm not able to, and finally Carmen De Cruz, who does our scheduling. So thank you to my incredible team. None of this would be possible without you as well. So we thought we'd do something a little different today and take a stroll down memory lane with you and go back and look at some of the guests and conversations that we've had over these 100 episodes. We have covered every topic. You might think we only talk about transportation, but really that's the tip of the iceberg. There are so many other issues that intersect with transportation. So we've been lucky to have, a number of community officials. We've had, transit professionals. We've had elected officials. We've had riders. We've had, operators of these transit systems talking not only about mobility, but about things like economic development, resiliency, land use, development. You name it, we've talked about it here on the program, so you'll get a taste of that over these next several clips. So, we broke these up into 3 segments. In the first, we'll look at several segments dealing with community leadership. We'll then move on to segments centered around economic impact and economic development. And then we'll finish off our series here today with a look at transit operations. So you're in for a treat. You're going to get a lot of programming in a very short period of time, so stick with us. So for this first series, we're going to look at several clips featuring community leaders. And the first off, we'll start with our chairman of the CITT at the time that we started this program, Oscar Brainin, a noted community activist and public servant. We'll then move on to Frankie Ruiz. Frankie is a beloved civic member of our community. You might know him as the guy who started and continues to run the Miami Marathon, several run clubs, and also a founder of Friends of the Ludlam Trail. The third segment will feature Kathy Bernstein. Kathy is a passionate transit rider and our first ever CITT ambassador. And then we'll finish off this first series with Lisette Mendez, who is the executive director of the Miami Book Fair. So with that, let's roll the tape.
I am rich in service. And that's the payment. The payment is the service. Right. We all have to have something that we give to our community. And I think there are people out there who have great interest in transportation. Mm-hmm. And we've got to reach out to those people and say, hey, here's a way for you to contribute. I think the CITT does a great job of what its mission is, but we need to have everybody involved.
Be truly representative of the community. Right.
We don't go out there and bill. We don't go out there and make sure that the rail lines fit. We don't pour the concrete. We don't buy the trains.
We don't operate the trains.
And we don't operate the trains. So, but our job is to see that all of these things are done properly by the agencies that are responsible for them.
Running in general, running and walking, the most democratic of all sports. Like, it's open to everyone.
Pair of sneakers, man.
It's open to everyone. The barrier to entry is much lower than other activities. Not to say anything bad about others, but it's just an easy one, and it's a base for everything else you do. I'd like to think that I'm part of what you do, which is just get people to move and connect to one another. That's pretty much what all my jobs and hats these days
And
are.
in your case, focused on moving people the old-fashioned way, right? Which is using their feet.
Yeah,
Which
using their feet.
the God-given feet.
Using their feet,
Which is still the best way to move, because not only does it get you somewhere, maybe a little more slowly than other modes of transportation, but it's great for fitness, it's great for the environment.
And it's great
for
to
mental
connect and create
wellness.
community.
Absolutely.
That's
Absolutely.
a big thing, one of my, I guess one of the biggest things I'm proud of accomplishing is back in 2009, we started a series of run clubs throughout Miami-Dade County together with Baptist Health and Nike, and those nights I just see all that is good about Miami and all the things we have to foster and nurture, which is the ability for people to recreate, people to do things for free in this case, and to connect with one another. I think that's it all.
You're limited in terms of the experience that you've had as a driver, so you kind of fell into just looking for those public transportation.
Out of necessity.
Out of necessity.
And the need for mobility. I want to feel independent. I don't want to have to call somebody to drive or say, could you drive me? I want to go myself.
Sure.
And I subscribe to Nootropic, and it's an online forum where they talk about local news. And when Velocia first came out, they said, who wants to try this? And they offered perks for using transit. Said, hey, I'm going to try it. And I signed on right away, and I saw instantly those velos come into my account. Like, wow, I can actually use this to redeem for Uber, for Lyft. That's what I mainly use it for.
I see. And then what about when you made the transition to our beta program?
Yes, well, that was even better because then we can do a little survey every time we ride any mode of transit. And I started out doing it, and then I think when you told me that people actually read those comments, I was very, very, very detailed in my comments, because often there's something going on. And I'll say exactly what it is. And since I rely on transit to get to work, I always give myself a buffer, but I've never been late. But there's always these little hiccups that to me seems like it could have been avoided. So I'll note all those things and say exactly what happened.
Yeah, well, you certainly put folks to shame who blame public transportation for making them late, because even today getting to the studio, you were here 45 minutes ahead of time. So.
I took transit on purpose. I said, I'm going to take transit today. I'm not calling Uber or Lyft. I'm going to take the rail and then follow the Google map. It was only 11 minutes.
Wow. So you got from 11-minute walk from when you got off of the train. Oh, wow.
It was right here. It was very simple. And I think a lot of people I talk to who are car associated are afraid to try transit. They have a bad image of it. They say, oh, I wouldn't take the train, rail, no.
Yeah.
Bus? Me? Take a public bus?
Yeah.
But I grew up on them, so it was not scary to me.
We all know that public transportation sometimes can take a little bit longer, depending on where you're going or whatnot, than driving in your own car. Again, depending on where you're going. So, it kind of feels very natural to be having this conversation with you about the Miami Book Fair, which takes place in downtown Miami, which I think Miami-Dade College, where it was founded, in 1984, there was a real, there was a lot of foresight in creating a festival of this kind in the downtown area, which, all of us, some longtime Miami residents, remember as being an area that maybe was a little bit economically depressed. Maybe folks didn't really want to be there or go there to do their entertainment activities, and that really started changing in the 80s when I was a student and in high school, and it was so accessible by transportation even then, right? And I think that was kind of the vision of the college at the time, and the folks that really, came together to found the book fair, that downtown was this really underutilized area that could really serve as a meeting point for all of the people in Miami-Dade County, and even outside Miami-Dade County, to come and enjoy, things like the Miami Book Fair. And of course, we know that since 1984, there's been, so many other great events that have been started or that take place, or, the Arch Center, for example, that is also in downtown Miami. And well, now we know all of the real estate and everything that comes along with it, restaurants, nightclubs, et cetera. So and one of the reasons that I believe that it was founded there was because of the ease of traveling into the downtown Miami. I think a lot of people have a misconception about traveling into downtown Miami, right? We live out in these different neighborhoods where we know getting in our car and thinking of going from South Dade, let's say, all the way to downtown. We're like, oh my God, that's going to take forever. But really, it's so easy, right?
It's the most accessible place in the state of Florida. No one else is connected by transit nearly as much as downtown Miami. Stick around because we have a few more coming up. This next series of guests are all talking about economic impact. So I think this should be obvious, but to the extent it isn't, there is no greater return on investment than investments in transportation and mobility, whether that's roadways, whether that's transit service, bicycle pedestrian paths. The reality is that our transportation network and the services that connect people to opportunities really form the backbone of our community, of our city, of our county. If we can't get to jobs, if we can't get to schools, if we can't get to shopping and entertainment and healthcare services, then our society simply doesn't function. So speaking to that economic impact are the next 5 guests that we're going to showcase here for you, starting off with Eileen Bouclé, who's Executive Director of one of our key transportation partners, the Miami-Dade County Transportation Planning Organization, or TPO. And she was joined in that episode by Gil Penalosa. Gil's a renowned international figure and founder and president of 880 Cities. They'll be followed by a segment featuring Steve Wright. Steve is a noted champion of disability rights. Then you'll hear from Kathy Dos Santos, who's the president and CEO of Transit Alliance Miami, just a great nonprofit that we're lucky to have here in Miami-Dade County championing transit and mobility. And we'll finish off this series with Ulyss Cleckley, who was the former director of the Department of Transportation and Public Works, but in this segment wearing the hat of president and CEO of the Underline. So with that, please take it away. Now, one thing I want to touch on, because I don't think we've really touched on it yet, and I think it's important, is affordability. So one of the other benefits of building a place where the car is optional is that automobile is the second most expensive element of a family's budget, right? Housing is one, and our housing is out of control here. But the second, typically, is the automobile. So if we could eliminate that cost, all of a sudden people have more funds that they can contribute towards housing. Could you want to talk about how bicycle pedestrian mobility contributes to affordability?
Yeah, it's very, very important. Cars are very, very, very expensive.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying you should not be able to have a car, but you should have the option. A car, if you have a car here in Florida, the cost of the car is about 20% of your income. 20% of your income. That's huge. If you could, instead of having a car, you could take public transit, walking and cycling, it would be only 4%. Mm-hmm. So there is nothing that could have a bigger impact on a personal economy than being able to downsize from 2 cars to 1 or from 1 to 0. It would be like winning the lottery, except that it's not 1 in 10 million, it's 1 in 1, it's you. And also it's fantastic for the local economy, because if now you have 16% more income, what are you going to do? You're going to go to the local restaurants, you're going to fix your house, you're going to do gardening. So it's a win-win. It's not money that is going to go somewhere else. It's going to be money that is going to be in Miami-Dade County that is going to stay. So it also has a huge impact.
I think it makes good business to make universal design. Again, if 1 in 4 people have a disability, and some of them maybe are grossly underemployed or unemployed, not because of the core disability, but because we're building an environment they can't get around to. You know, paratransit is lovely, but it is not the most efficient. The more we have sidewalks that are safe and connect to a transit network that's efficient and has frequent headways, and I know I just went nerd on us, but you know, the more wheelchair users and blind people and people with hearing can get around better.
And be productive members of society.
Yes, I mean, no one wants to have a rent-subsidized apartment I have friends with disability, they're in their late 30s and they're going to nursing homes because it's stable housing. That's not where you go.
Sure.
We should not base employability or brilliance on the ability to dunk a basketball or jump a tennis net. I don't know if I could ever do those even in my prime. So again, let's unlock the brilliant brain by unlocking the built environment.
And it's good not only for those people, but ultimately, as you said, it makes business sense for the community at large and the taxpayer, right?
Yeah.
The return on investment is huge.
Correct. Yeah.
For
Again,
a relatively small amount of money.
I worked for an elected
You save in the
official.
long run.
Yeah,
right.
we all know that, but city budgets are tight. Money's not growing on trees.
These projects have been in the planning phase for so long, and it's really time to
Decades.
start. Yes. I mean, when you look at, we know that the initial plan for the Metro Rail included an extension to the beach. Sure. And that's just one example. I do think it's one of the more dire ones, and it's also one of the easiest cases to make because we see the ridership already. Yeah. Those buses, the 100, especially the 20, these buses have really high ridership, and these folks need solutions to get out of traffic. And it's also going to help our economies in terms of bringing more tourists, which is very much what drives the economy of South Beach. Sure. And the rest of Miami Beach, really. And for all the Miami Beach residents that are complaining that they're stuck in traffic and that, what can be done about it? It's like, hey, we need to reduce the cars on the road. And these types of projects really are gonna be what does it, because it provides, every car in front of you, even if you're not willing to make the choice to leave your car behind, the people around you may. Right. And that's every single person on that train is one less car in front of you.
And by the way, the person that teaches your kids, the person that maybe cleans your home.
Absolutely.
Or, takes care of your children when you're working. I mean, these are folks who, by and large, many of them depend on transit.
And they drive our communities.
It's not a great way of getting to the beach. So.
They drive our economies. I mean, all this work is if we didn't learn this from the pandemic, I'm gonna keep on saying it, but our service workers, our educators, everybody who is most dependent on transit is the backbone of our community.
And what I realize is that yes, it's a beautiful linear park and urban trail, but at the end of the day, this is really an economic development project. Yeah. And that's why we have a lot of attention, a lot of support from our local communities, quite frankly, from the state and all the way up to the U.S. Department of Transportation from a national level. And we're internationally known as the best in city building in terms of redeveloping underutilized space that provides greater connectivity and such a great asset for our communities. And so we help support business and workforce development. We help identify opportunities for entertainment and recreation. We have nature and resiliency that's built into the project. We have culture and art, and we have health and wellness. Yeah. It's kind of our platform. That's what we do. So it's more than just a trail or park. It is really an economic development project that is a true asset to Miami-Dade County.
So welcome back. I hope you enjoyed those segments. So for our final series of segments, we're focused on transit operations. So at the CITT, our core function is to oversee the use of the half-penny sales tax for transportation improvements. Much of those funds go towards transit operations, both at the county level, through operating Metrobus, Metrorail, Metromover, even Tri-Rail, and extending to the municipalities who use their share of the half-penny sales tax for their own transit operations. Those are the trolleys, the shuttles, the on-demand freebie services that the municipalities provide as well. So many of our segments have showcased many of these transit services. So coming up now in this final series, you're going to hear from Telisa Ruan. Telisa is a Metrobus operator who is the first woman ever to win the county's bus rodeo. That's a competition and championship for who's the best bus driver in Miami-Dade County. You'll then hear from Gregory Robinson. So Gregory was, at the time, the general superintendent at the Department of Transportation and Public Works, since retired. Congratulations to Greg. They'll be followed by both Commissioner Raquel Regalado, and David Deck, who is the president and CEO of SFRTA, or better known as Tri-Rail. You'll then hear from Nelia Cartaya at the Florida Department of Transportation, District 6, and her consultant, Marie Elsie Dowell, with their consultant, WSP. And finally, we'll finish the program with Jason Spiegel, who is the managing partner and co-founder of Freebie. So with that, enjoy these next 5 segments.
Do you have, any particular like tips for people, like for these ambassadors that are joining and riding, or just passengers in general? Do you have any tips or that you shared in order for them to make the most of their rides and the services that are available?
The only tip I could say is safety first. And I noticed, I'm a bus driver, so I see a lot of hazards that pedestrians don't pay attention to.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say when getting off of the bus, please do not walk in front of the bus. And that's a lot of people be on their cell phones and don't be aware, or just don't be alert.
Mm-hmm.
And that would take a toll on the operator if something tragic would happen. So we don't want that to happen. So just be more aware of when you get off the bus, just stay on the curb. And when we're pulling into the bus terminal or the bus stop, don't walk towards the bus. Just stay there. We'll come to you in safety. That was one of my biggest things, is safety.
I actually start off every morning at 4 o'clock and get what I call a pulse check at 5 o'clock in the morning.
From your team?
From the team.
Mm-hmm.
And that team lets me know if I have any issues to deal with that day, the number of trains available, number of operators available, any issues that I would have to deal with to make the adjustments, and notify our marketing department so we can send out to the world, here's what's happening today.
Gotcha.
And during the day, I'm just my finger on the pulse all day long. And I'm the man in the middle and responsible for making sure that it runs. And I have a great staff up under me, a real good staff I'm very proud of. In fact, one of my chiefs in my control room, his father actually trained me.
Oh my goodness! Talking about turn around.
Yes, it's amazing. When I first started as a controller in the room, one of my controllers would bring his son by to visit on Bring Your Kid to Work thing. And there was this kid that would come by and visit every once in a while. And then he went on to Florida State. And sure enough, in a short story, that kid came to work for us. And he's a young man now. And he's now my chief controller.
Oh my goodness.
It's amazing.
Wow.
And got another chief also. So the future is I think, in solid hands for the control center by the 2 chiefs that's under my tutelage.
Uh-huh.
And I'm very proud. And they got new ideas, and I'm sort of like the old man now to them.
Wow, that's great that you're leaving a legacy, and there's some succession training going on, so it'll continue.
Well, someone laid the path for me, and that was Mr. Bradley.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember he always said, Greg, help somebody out.
Yes. Mm. Yeah, that sounds like
somewhere in the past,
Bradley.
Help somebody out.
Pay it forward.
He taught me how to run a control center.
We also want to make sure we're protecting Brightline, because look at what they've done to transform rail, and now nationwide. With big news coming now between Los Angeles and Vegas. Brightline's got an opportunity to transform rail culturally, and then we're in there, so we need to make sure we protect our customers. And it's been a lot of discussions. So we'll run this simulated service. We think we'll have that done before Christmas, and then we're going to let everybody kind of enjoy the holidays.
There's nothing that would bring more joy to me during the holidays than getting on that train. So, and then you got to wrap it.
It might be after. It might be after the New Year's, but I would look for short.
Then we'll wear a top hat and we'll have fireworks instead.
And I will take that picture. I would look at very early in 2024.
That's okay.
To be able to
new
ride
train in the new year.
Yes, exactly. And
Newly
we're very
wrapped
excited.
train.
Newly wrapped train. Yes, newly wrapped train. And look, for us, it's going to be transformative to get to downtown because this opens up an entire new group of people,
Right.
you know, and one of the things that we approved at our last meeting is an educational campaign in conjunction with FDOT, where we're going to educate all these new potential users, right, on how they can use Tri-Rail, because Brightline has really taught us all so much about marketing. You know, they have done it so well.
Oh,
And
they wrote the playbook. I mean, it's amazing.
it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing. But for us, like, we're at a different price point, right? We're at a very different price point. But it can still be a wonderful experience. It's still a million times better than your car, you know? And we can get you to all these destinations, right?
I mean, if you think about coming up here soon on a weekend for $5.
Yeah.
For $5, you can ride from West Palm Beach to downtown Miami.
Can't beat that.
$5 a person. $5.
Is that round trip?
Round all day long.
Can't beat it.
Can't beat that. Can't beat that.
I mean, the parking here is like $50. So, you know,
Right.
$5 is a
The
steal.
gas,
I'm too cheap.
the tolls,
Yeah.
the parking, the headache,
Right.
you know. So we're excited.
This podcast is about mobility.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we keep growing. Everybody's going to keep coming to Miami. There's no doubt about it. We have to find innovative solution to maximize the right-of-way that we have. As you mentioned, we can't keep widening roads. So,
Yeah, especially in our urban areas, right?
No,
You know,
right. Urban
You
areas,
can't get
yes.
more urban than the Flagler corridor.
that's correct.
Now, Flagler does change, right? As it continues west, it's no longer kind of that pair of streets. Everything comes together on Flagler itself. Is that a challenge kind of moving forward, you know, because you might have less to work with?
It is a challenge. It starts with 6 lanes out west, and then narrows down. 6 lanes with median, and then narrows down to 4 lane with no median, so no space in between, and with residences and businesses having access straight on Flagler. It is a challenge, but it is an opportunity as well. So out west, you've got the 6 lanes of traffic, so the impact of repurposing a lane for transit only is less than in the 4 lane section. But one size doesn't fit all.
Right.
So looking at the entire corridor and urban planning, right? Looking at what is the appropriate use of the right-of-way that you have, and where that repurposing a lane of traffic makes more sense for everybody. It is a balance. We have to balance people that walk, people that bike, people that drive, and people that use transit. And that's always at the forefront of the
Not to mention the land use considerations, environmental considerations, social equity, right?
you, Javier.
It's a very
Yes, thank you.
complex thing. Yeah, people, it's not as simple as just, getting from point A to point B. There's a lot more that goes into it.
We actually had the village of Key Biscayne reach out to us. And, their thought process was, listen, we have traffic, we have congestion on our island, we have very limited parking. We don't really want our residents to have to take out their vehicles to move around the island. Can you provide the service here? And at the time we said, listen, we would love to, but we just can't generate the same amount of revenue to be able to justify in running the service as we can in a Miami Beach, at downtown, where these big brands want to be and pay, top dollar for it.
They need a lot of eyeballs.
They need a lot of eyeballs, exactly. And basically they said, well, how about we fund it almost similar to like a public transportation contract, so that we have a set amount of vehicles on the road at all times. We have hours of operation, and basically they gave us a 1-year pilot. A couple months in, it was very successful when it came to the ridership, customer feedback. That service started with 2 vehicles, and very proud to say that today that program is still ongoing. We operate now 9 vehicles on Key Biscayne, moving 10 to 12,000 passengers a month, which is pretty insane for a 13,000 resident community.
And
there.
it was a natural place to start because they love those golf carts in Key Biscayne anyway. That tends to be part of their identity.
Correct.
And the cars that you had, at least at that time, were very much kind of in that mode, right?
Exactly. The gem car, the low
gem
speed
cars, not golf carts,
No,
technically.
the low
but,
speed vehicles. Yes,
Yeah.
we still do operate the low speed vehicles there. It's actually one of the few communities still where we're operating.
Oh, they
those
love them,
vehicles. Yeah, it's a great vehicle for a Key Biscayne community.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, again, based on that success, right? This was very early on in what microtransit was kind of starting to, kind of pioneer at the time, and neighboring cities after that saw, wow, that's pretty cool.
folks, I hope you enjoyed those episodes and that stroll down memory lane with us. We look forward to the next 100 episodes here on Mobility Matters and thereafter. In the meantime, if you're interested in going back and looking at some of our last 99 episodes, you can visit our website at miamidade.gov/CITT and find the links to our Mobility Matters podcast. You could also find us on YouTube. So you go to youtube.com/@Transportation Trust. You'll find all of our previous episodes there and those to come. So in those next 100 episodes, we're going to have the same variety of guests. If you're interested in being a guest on Mobility Matters, if you're in the transportation space or just passionate about transportation and mobility, please reach out. You can email us at citt@miamidade.gov. Now, once again, before we bring this special episode to a conclusion, we want to thank our partners here at Miami's Community News. I want to thank my board members. I want to thank my staff, my incredible team. But I also want to thank all of the guests that have taken the time to appear on this program, to share their knowledge, and to educate the public about all these wonderful investments we're making in transportation and mobility and about all the issues that intersect with that topic. And finally, I want to thank you, the audience, for tuning in. We thank you for your support. We hope you continue to watch us here, broadcast live out of these beautiful studios every other Thursday from 9:30 to 10:30. So continue to check us out. So that's all we have for you today. Thank you. And in the meantime, keep moving, Miami.